thank you very much for allowing me to come here today. I can tell the microphone is on now. I move around a lot, and I have to remember that this is getting filmed. So, y'all, I came casual, and I hope that's okay after 7 months of legislative session. Not to mention the fact that the comment about how somebody who wasn't born here, races to get here as fast as they. I really do feel like this area is kind of a second home for me. Every time I come here, I think the same thing. I sure hope my kids go to school here. I think Texas Tech would be a great place for my kids to go to college. It's just, I love this community. Some of my best friends are here. I did not get a chance to hang out with one of my good buddies, Richard Roberts. I'm looking for Richard if he is in the crowd today. I know Linda has been sort of under the weather, and so I don't see Richard. If he's here, he can wave at me later. But y'all, I do love this. I love this area. I love coming here. I've got painful things to talk about today, but I do want to say that we had a really tense legislative session. There were a lot of things that were said by these state reps and Senator Perry that I really want you to key in on. I could have jumped out of my chair and just led the Dustin Burrows, re-election campaign, honestly, when he starts talking about the main thing. The main thing is the price of health care. That is the problem that we are all dealing with, and it's the reason why this has become as an expensive proposition as it is. So, look, I know I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I will tell you that if you don't vote, you're a part of the problem. It's time for honesty, okay? When you go on Facebook Live and 15,000 people watch, you get instantaneous, honest feedback. And sometimes it is painful to watch because the part that was painful for me are some of the comments that come in from all over the state, people watching it, and they're saying, I've not heard about this. This is the first time I've heard about this. And if you're a relatively new retiree, I think there is a learning curve that goes along with it. But if you've been retired for a couple of years and this is the first time you've heard about it, shame on you. Because you've not been involved at the local level. You've not been involved in the TRTA. And if there's one thing that not Tim Lee as executive director, but your fellow retired teachers are getting a little impatient with, it's the folks that have known about this organization for a while, but are not coming and being a part of it. So, again, if you've never heard of us before, absolutely, I am encouraging you to get involved because this is not the end of the situation. We are at this very strange moment, this kind of surreal moment. And I felt it as I sat there and I watched. Now, those are my car keys over there. I got to remember that. As I watched these folks talk, I realized that there is the next march is coming. And, people, we're not even at, the filing open date. People are going to file to run for office, and you're going to wonder, who is my friend, who is not my friend. And we are not a political action committee that donates money to these candidates or that makes endorsements. There is nothing that says that TRTA cannot make endorsements, except our House delegate says we don't want to do that. You do not have to be a political action committee to make endorsements. And this is sort of a strange way of starting to talk about this, but here's my point. If we don't find some ways to kind of rally around those who try to help us, they'll get primaried and beat. And so we have to be that voting block. Was it Ken who was talking about if we showed up and voted as a block? How many people are in TRS? Anybody know? Anybody know how many people are in TRS? 1.3 million. That's active and retired. If you start adding in a spouse, the numbers almost double. If you add in family members, those numbers go out of control. Honestly, if we voted as a block, it would start sending a major message. And I do agree completely. It was sort of funny to say that the governor didn't get there on his own. I will say this. I work very closely with Governor Abbott's office, and again, I know it's being videoed, and I would say this whether it was or not. One of the folks that works in the governor's office, his name is Jay Dyer, and he is a lawyer. He used to work for a group called the Texas Association of Builders. When I first came here in 2004, I found out that I was a landlord, that we owned this building in downtown Austin, and a tenant inside our building is the Texas Association of Builders. And so I got to know Jay when he was, just like me, a person working for an association. He went to work for the Attorney General's office. He then went to work and now works in the governor's office, and he's a major part of their policy division. He knows you folks personally. He knows you because he knows TRTA. He knows me personally, and you have a voice inside the governor's office who is probably one of the top 3-level individuals who's constantly talking to Governor Abbott about you because of that connection. And again, it's those kinds of connections that a group like this has to really rely on. I have no idea in this room who knows somebody who will get something done. And that is the reason why we come together and organize and we get these things done. So Bogan Durr, there's another gentleman in that office, and just because I have to try to remember, I can't remember right now, Drew DeBerry, who's a super guy and just works for y'all. But they were instrumental in getting this kind of added to the call. We did that email campaign. Y'all remember that? I have to tell you, there was some real confusion. As the letters started pouring into the governor's office about add us to the call, the governor and the lieutenant governor were sort of, well, we think it's already on the call. And so it was sort of funny because I was getting conflicting messages from the House and the Senate and the governor's office, but ultimately added to the call. Trust me, it was not because of anything about Tim Lee or Bill Barnes or Nancy Byler or these TRTA kind of officials. It was all because of you. And so again, I am trying to sell the importance of you not losing this moment in time. We effectively raised the amount of money from zero for TRS Care to over $700 million additional dollars for the program. When January started, the assumption was no new money for TRS Care. None. And the $768 million that we received last time was what we called a supplemental appropriation. It was tied to nothing except that budget. And so $1 billion hole, of the $1 billion, $768 million of that was not because more people retired. It was not because healthcare costs went up $1 billion. It was because the budget dollars that flowed into us last time didn't stick. And this, along with the price of healthcare, is one of the most fundamental problems of TRS Care. We are appropriated dollars in one session that are not part of the base level funding, and because that, we are having to go back and beg for the money to come back. And I stood on the steps of the Capitol on the South Lawn in the very beginning part of the special session, and in 105-degree heat, and I talked to thousands of people that were there for a big rally on education, and I will say the same thing today that I said then. I am embarrassed as a taxpayer that I have to beg to put the money back into a program that we all know isn't going to get any less. So when we put supplemental dollars into a healthcare program and then act like we're surprised that healthcare costs continue to be a big part of the state budget, there's no shame on the elected officials for putting us in a position that we have to come back and beg for the dollars that we know are not going away. So we have to be more forceful in what we are saying, because somehow or other, when we start a legislative session and the idea is you've got to spend 4.5 months of that 6-month session just trying to get back to zero so that we have the same funding level. We've got a huge problem. And it's a process problem. So when this whole primary thing starts, I would encourage all of us to begin by asking our elected officials, what will you do to ensure that the money that we have right now isn't a penny less than where we're starting the next budget cycle? Because price will go up. People will retire. The costs will go up. And it is really hard for people in the elected class to understand that we're not asking for $1 billion new dollars. We're just asking for 77% of it to stay the same dollars. So look, I know, because Terry sent me questions. But anytime 4 politicians start talking, all of a sudden that kind of riles up in me, and it's like, guys, we've got a real issue here. And the issue is we're giving back money that we know we have to have. And if we don't keep those dollars, we're always going to have this problem. And so whether it's Dustin talking about the cost, gosh, I could have just screamed. I know this is not church, but I was like, amen, brother. Preach it. What's the answer that you get when you go into a doctor's office and you say, well, how much will this cost? What is the answer? The answer I get is, who's your insurance? What does that have to do with cost? It has everything to do with high-level contract negotiation. And he talked about the doctors killing that bill. It's the insurance companies. Insurance companies killed that bill. So we, the people, don't have the dollars to combat that sort of thing, but we have the votes. And until we start really organizing those votes around these core issues, we're going to lose. So just remember that come March. And if you're a new retiree and you're just getting involved, you get involved with TRTA, you may not be, I understand why you may not want to be an officer. I understand why you may not want to do certain things. But if you get involved in this organization, you got to be all in. Because we lobby, we phone call, we email, and we vote. 97% is what the retiree population is voting at these days. Active school personnel, about 50%. So we have some work to do. And it is not always with legislators. We elect the right people, then we'll be okay. Now, some of them are the right people, but they fear getting primaried, and so sometimes those decisions get soft. So we just have to be involved in that process. I will answer whatever questions you want about any politician you want to ask me about. Now listen, I've been doing this for 21 years. I can either give a straight answer, or I can give an answer that will help me get out of a situation where a straight answer isn't good. So anyway, I have to remember not to move so much. Let's just talk about the healthcare stuff, because I've been to 4 or 5 locals in the last week, and I'm getting different information every time I go to a local. First thing I'm going to say is October 10th. Y'all probably been given this date already. October 10th is when TRS will be here with Aetna, with Humana, with the pharmaceutical benefit manager, which in some cases is going to be Express Scripts, in some cases it's going to be CVS Caremark. Ultimately, it will all be CVS Caremark, but again, this is where I get a little conflicting message. So anyway, October 10th, I had this pulled up on my phone. I'm sorry, cameraman. What is it? Everybody have? Oh, here's my phone. Got nervous all of a sudden. Let's see if I still have this open. Blah, 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 blah. So I was Googling Jody Arrington. Congress has started again, and I'll go back and see Congressman Arrington. Oh, I don't have it. Anyway, if y'all look on our website, the last inside line that we sent out, kind of towards the bottom, there's a, click this button to see the schedule. And I think what's happening is in the morning, they are doing the presentation on the over age 65 crowd. And then in the afternoon, they're doing the under age 65 crowd. That's good. Okay, so usually starts around 9:30, 9:15, 9:30. It's here. So TRS does have an RSVP process. I think this is not because they want to hold anybody out. Part of that is just to know kind of what to expect. They ought to just expect that the room will be filled 100%. So y'all come to that. Some of you may want to come for all of it. That is the time that you're going to be able to ask questions about docs, questions about maybe your pharmaceutical processing, things that are going on. So I'm gonna get into this whole presentation based on the questions that Terry sent me. But then you can ask me whatever you want. I'm going to try to remember all of them. I'm not going to take them in order, because I think this was question 2, but it's going to be question 1 on everybody's mind, and that is, how come I don't have ERS health care? How come my health care is not like the state employees retirement system, that once I retire, I get free health insurance for life, and my spouse is subsidized at 50%? So the answer for that is because of politics. There's probably a better answer that I guess I could give when it says that the part of the compensation package was built in the 1970s around the formulas and the structures. But I think it all comes down to the elected individuals know that if they were to give us ERS health care, it would cost probably 5 or 6 times more than what it costs right now. And so, while starting getting into the numbers of this just kind of gives you a magnitude. And just start off by saying this. The state legislature appropriates twice as much money for half as many people in ERS. And ERS, what is ERS? Some of y'all, what is this ERS? State Employees Retirement System. Who falls under ERS? Well, folks who work for the state, specifically who have some state job, maybe somebody who works in the Department of Transportation, maybe a state police officer, I don't know, somebody like a legislator, so that's ERS. And so if you retire as an elected official and you've paid your vesting time in, or if you're under ERS, you're going to get free health insurance, and your spouse is subsidized at 50%. So how much is that worth on a per person basis? On a per person basis, it's probably worth about $900 a month. You're getting, as a retiree from the state, about $112 a month for your health insurance. So when you just look at the cost, what we call the cost delta between what the state is willing to provide to an ERS retiree versus a TRS retiree, it's about 9 to 1. So that's a big fundamental problem. Now, let me be clear. Again, I'm on videotape. I am not suggesting that we should take anything away from a state employee. I will tell you this right now. My dad was a computer programmer in another state, so he worked for the state of Illinois. He is an Army vet, 20 plus years with the Army. He did 37 years with the state as a computer programmer, never made a dime more than $42,000 a year as a computer programmer. I know computer programmers in Austin that make $42,000 a day. So it is not fair to say that our state workers are overcompensated because of low wages and good benefits. It's sort of just the trade-off. What's happening, though, is that we're not transferring that same philosophy to our public school employees. And a lot of times we get tripped up on this idea of our state employees in a different group than people who work for a school district. And I've seen legislators actually say in legislative session from their chair, you're not a state employee or you're not a state retiree. And that is a lose-lose argument, okay? You tell that to a retiree and all you're saying is, I don't want your vote, and I know you're not going to vote for me. So a better argument, at least it should be, right? So a better argument is, well, the state is in control of the funding mechanisms for these programs. And the philosophy of funding ERS is the cost is the driving factor. They fund ERS health insurance based on how much it costs. An amazing, controversial, and totally preposterous way of handling cost, right? Or handling, actually putting money towards something. TRS is based on a completely different scheme, and that is how much teachers get paid. So we get as much revenue for the same kind of thing, not based on the cost of that thing, but based on the payroll for the teachers. If we were just to pay our teachers 50 or 60% more, we wouldn't have a problem. But if we're going to base it on how much teachers get paid, we're always going to have a lot less money than what we need. Because teachers don't get paid. I know, again, it's sort of a new topic for everybody today. Teachers don't get paid very much, y'all. So once we realize that the major disconnect is the revenue is based on something that hardly ever goes up versus something that always goes up. These are the problems. So we've got to change this philosophy a little bit. If you're an elected official and you're watching this video, we must change how TRS care is funded because it will not work anymore. I really am in comfortable territory here. I know all of these guys personally. And I like each and every one of them. So look, there's other folks that don't feel the same way, and it's going to continue to be a problem. So we've got to fix that issue. And I don't think that I want to take anything away from ERS. A friend of mine who is an elected official in Arlington has already said, I'm going to run a bill next session that moves all of the elected class into TRS care. So if there's one way to get the attention of somebody, that is not Tim Lee's bill. That is not Tim Lee's bill. That is a state representative in Arlington. His name is Tony Tenderholt, and Tony's mother-in-law is a retired teacher. Now, you talk about a good advocate. I know my mother-in-law, and if she were on me all the time, I'd probably be, whatever you say, I'm going to run the bill, whatever. So he's going to run a bill next legislative session that will move the legislators into TRS care. And I think at that point in time, it might, if nothing else, it'll bring some additional attention to the whole subject matter. So, somebody's already said, well, I don't think the current law supports the idea that we move somebody under one retirement system into the health care plan of another retirement system. I have two things to say on that. Number one, your employees at the teacher retirement system, they retire under TRS. So that's good. But they also retire under ERS for their health insurance. So we know there is a case example where somebody retires under one state pension plan and gets the health care benefits of another pension plan. So we know that argument is really not realistic. But the other part of that is, if I remember correctly, the elected officials are the ones who set the law. So if they're going to change it, they have the power to change it. So all right, so we do have this issue. You are not in ERS, and I don't think ERS should be changed. I do think TRS should be changed. And so I think it's impractical and probably something that ERS people should know, that they are not likely to get free health insurance forever. It just, the price is not, it doesn't work. It's a great benefit, but if you retire under ERS, you get full Social Security. There's no GPO, there's no WEP, there's full Social Security. You get a 10% contribution from the state of Texas to support your future defined benefit retirement plan. And you have free health insurance. So we know the state gets how to offset low wages with good benefits. They get it, because they get it. So for us, we've got some work to do. So that's kind of that first issue, and so that we just have to know how to discuss that. So the next issue, I think, and again, having to look at my email, the first question is, I think it's about dependence. So we have several classifications. And if you are under the age of 65 and you're thinking, okay, he's going to start talking about the over age 65 crowd, probably don't want to tune this out because you're going to get there someday. So yeah, we're going to start with this over age 65 population because the under age 65 stuff, you know, it's important and there's a better solution for it, and I think we have to deal with it. But let's start with this over 65 thing. I was told something yesterday that just sort of blew my mind because it did not come up during the legislative session. It was never really pointed out, and that is that if you are the retiree and you retire, let's just say age 63, but your spouse was fortunate enough to find you, but maybe a couple years older than you, and he or she is not the retiree, that person is not going to pay the over age 65 rate. That dependent is going to pay the under age 65 rate for the Medicare Advantage plan, which is $498 a month. So again, I'm starting off with sort of this strange example here. Okay? So I, the retiree, am under the age of 65. I'm under TRS. I know I'm going to have the high deductible $200 a month premium. But my dependent spouse is over age 65, Medicare eligible, is on TRS care, but is not going to pay the Medicare Advantage rate for the over age 65 crowd, which is $395 a month. That retiree is going to pay an additional $100 a month for the same insurance just because the retiree is not yet 65. And I will tell you right now, $498 a month for a Medicare Advantage plan, no matter how good TRS says that Medicare Advantage plan is, isn't worth it. It's not worth it. And so, I'm going to try to make several things clear in this entire discussion. I am the person who is going to try and talk you out of leaving TRS care. I am going to try to talk you out of it. But I know there are some examples where it does not make financial sense to potentially stick around. So, I, as your advocate, am going to go to the TRS board meeting at the end of this month, and I'm going to ask for two things. One, I'm going to ask that those dependents be charged the Medicare rate, because I think that is only fair. And TRS is going to argue that the insurance follows the retiree. That's sort of their terminology. So if that retiree is not yet age 65, the costs are for the not yet age 65 crowd. And I find that really difficult to say I support that. The second thing is that if I am under the age of 65, and I can qualify for a better plan outside of TRS care, I can, after checking all the boxes, I can walk away from TRS care and then come back at age 65. Again, it's that under age 65 crowd, walk away and come back. That's a pretty decent thing if you have that as an option. Again, a lot of boxes to check before you just do that, but you can do that. Guess what? That retiree spouse can't. If the benefit follows the retiree, what is the difference between the person who's the spouse being able to walk away for a couple of years and buy a fully insured plan and then come back? I just find that incredibly difficult to believe. So if you are in this category, we have some work to do that may mean that we need to approach the TRS Board of Trustees and say, look, we can't leave these spouses out there trying to figure out what to do. Honestly, I almost wish that TRS would just cancel spousal insurance, because that's a more honest approach of saying, we're going to take far more money from you than what these things cost to essentially subsidize everybody else. I can't figure out, and nobody has disclosed this to me yet, but the thing I don't know is, what does the TRS Medicare Advantage plan actually cost? Because it is a fully insured plan backed up by Humana in a group plan. And here's where I'm going to start bragging on TRS. Getting back to this over age 65 crowd, because somebody says, what is the difference between TRS Care 3 that I have right now, and I'm in the supplement plan, fully supplement plan, not the Medicare Advantage plan. And I know on January 1st, 2018, TRS Care is going to enroll me in TRS Medicare Advantage, and there are no numbers anymore. There's not a 1, 2, and 3, with 1 being the lowest and 3 being the highest, and there's no more traditional supplement. It all falls under Medicare Advantage. And so the differences are how the bills get processed, and the benefits are less, and the cost is a little bit more. The differences are not that much less. And again, this is the part where skepticism from y'all kind of plays into this, and I fully understand why. Because there is hardly an article out there that really, sings the praises of Medicare Advantage plans. Most of the time you read something about Medicare Advantage, it's bad. 30% of the Medicare age population in the United States of America opts for a Medicare Advantage plan, just so you know. So it is not as though these are wildly popular plans in the individual market. And they are vastly different in this individual marketplace. They are vastly you can pay, nothing and get a Medicare Advantage plan that has some level of coverage, and it may be worth exactly what you're paying for it. Nothing. So in addition to that, if I'm in Medicare Advantage and it's just kind of this individual private market scenario, I also have to buy a Medicare D plan. And those Medicare D plans can, can cover some things and cover not some things, can be different prices. So it's a lot of shopping that you kind of got to put that together to work. And what TRS Care is doing is they have created a group. You all are a group. 300,000, well, not quite that many, 250,000 lives in a group. And the federal government recognizes you as a group, which means that you, all of us, we do not have to conform to the same rules that fit the individual market. So we can construct within our group our own plan, which is what TRS has done. And that's why it's so confusing to that business official or that business person who works in the doctor's office and says, we don't take any Medicare Advantage plans. Well, you probably take TRS Care. No, we don't take any. Yeah, you do. You're contracted to take the TRS Care plan. And they don't know it. They don't know it. So that's why we get a lot of doctor's offices and providers saying, we don't take the plans. But you do take the TRS Care plan because it's constructed as a group plan, and it is far different than anything else that's in the private sector. Why is it so different? Because even if your doctor does not accept Humana, you can still use this plan and get the Medicare rates for your doctor. Basically, if your doctor takes Medicare patients, they can accept your TRS Care Medicare Advantage plan. All they have to do is bill it, and they will get reimbursed at the same rate as Medicare reimbursements. That is, in a nutshell, that is the whole thing that Dustin Burrows is talking about. You've got groups out there that have negotiated with doctors and hospital groups for certain rates for certain things. So if the MRI is $100, and that's what Medicare says an MRI is worth, the doc has to accept Medicare usual and customary rate. Now, they can try to bill you more for that. They can. But they have to at least accept the fact that they're going to bill Medicare for $100, $80 of which is going to be paid for by Medicare, 20% which becomes your responsibility, and then if you have secondary insurance, that secondary insurance, or your supplemental plan, takes care of some other portion of that 20%. So then you come down to what your share is. That's kind of how it works. But under the Medicare Advantage plan with TRS Care, Humana's doctor and provider network has agreed that MRI is going to be provided at $70. All right? And if you're in the Humana network, that $70 kind of what your basis of your reimbursement is going to be worth. So some of these doctors who don't want to accept those rates say, no, I want to get at least $100, okay? That's kind of what's going on. And Humana is saying, look, that's fine. If you just bill us out of network, but under this TRS Care plan, we'll reimburse you at the same rates as Medicare. And most docs don't have the time to figure that all out. And let me say this, most retirees shouldn't have to worry about that. Y'all shouldn't have to worry about that. That becomes a discussion between the billing agent and the authorized payer. And that is why on the TRS website, in our last inside line, there is a form that you can click and take to your doctor and say, this is the form that my insurance provider has given me to explain our benefits to you. And all I am asking is that you will consider billing TRS Care Humana plan out of network and getting the same reimbursements. That business official can take a look at that form, and more times than not, the doctor's office finally says, oh, okay, fine. Doesn't always happen, but in most cases it does. So here's again where I am trying to convince you that if you're thinking about leaving TRS Care because this is a Medicare Advantage plan, it is not the same kind of Medicare Advantage plan that you can buy in the individual market. It's totally different. And I don't know all of the hospital networks in this area. I don't. I know there's at least a couple major hospitals in Lubbock, and sometimes they're aligned with one insurance and sometimes they're aligned with another, and it's just a little legwork to see who's going to accept what. The best thing I can advise on this whole idea about will your provider, whomever that provider is, whether it's your primary care, your heart doc, your diabetes doc, whatever, if you come to that October 10th meeting, you can ask the Humana individuals about your docs and find out if they are already aligned to accept this payment style. And that should give you some strong peace of mind on the actual provider stuff. Now, I spent a lot of time talking about providers, but let me assure you, that is not the cost driver for our health insurance plan. It's prescription drugs. 51% of the total expenditures out of TRS Care are for your pharmaceuticals, not for going to the doctor. That ought to just shock all of us. But it means that maybe if you keep taking your medicine, then all of us are healthier and we stay out of the hospital. Now, everybody has to have an example, right? I take something called budesonide slurry. Anybody else take the budesonide slurry in here? It's horrible. It's disgusting. But it's something I have to drink twice a day. Because if I don't take it, I can't eat. And some of you are saying, that wouldn't hurt you, fatso. So, if I want to be able to swallow the food, I have to drink the medicine. And that medicine is about $350 a bottle. I get 2 bottles per fill, $700. But my insurance company has a negotiated rate of $85. So I pay, $170 or whatever it is every time I get the fill. So 170 is a lot better than 700. So when I get the fill, I know that I'm paying that negotiated medicine rate with my insurance provider. Y'all have the same thing with TRS Care. And we call that group the Pharmaceutical Benefit Manager, the PBM. I'm going to just hit you with acronyms today. You're going to love every single one of them. So the PBM is who manages the pharmaceutical stuff. And they do one thing real well, and that is they buy a lot of prescriptions. They buy a lot of Lipitor, and they buy a lot of everything else, and they get a much lower price for those scripts than what you would if you were just going in to buy it by yourself, right? That's the power of our group. It's the Costco, model. So So TRS hires a PBM, and our current PBM is, anybody know? Express Scripts. So Express Scripts is the current PBM. And TRS went through a bid process, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months ago, so that they could award a new contract to a PBM. And they wrote this contract in such a way that if you thought you could provide additional savings by providing prescriptions to both TRS Care and TRS Active Care, which are the active teachers, then, and if you can bring additional cost savings, we will give you a higher rating for what we'll consider. And so a group came back around with a bid that won, and that is CVS Caremark. So as of a few days ago, CVS Caremark became the prescription provider for TRS Care pre-65. Now, until 2 days ago, I saw some people just, until 2 days ago, I was told that TRS, that CVS Caremark was taking over the entire thing as of September 1st. Nope. I was told yesterday that Express Scripts will continue to serve our over age 65 retirees until 12/31/2017. I have to tell you, I'm a little discontent that I stood in front of several groups and said, nope, I have word from TRS that CVS is taking over everything as of 9/1. No. So now I've got to go back and tell all those people that I talked to several days ago that what I heard was not correct, and now I have to tell you all something different. I'm going to ask you all to stay tuned on this issue because I've been getting flip-flopping answers here. But it is my understanding as of right now that if you have a script that you need filled and you are over the age of 65, Express Scripts will continue to fill your prescriptions until 12/31. Well, close of business. So as January 1st, Caremark takes over the rest of everything. My guess is this has to do with how active care works still, how prescriptions are going to work for pre-65. It's just sort of a mess. So if you are under the age of 65, you should have received a new prescription drug card. Anybody here under the age of 65? Anybody here who wishes they were under the age of 65? So, under the age of 65, how many of y'all have received your new CVS Caremark card? Okay, a lot of hands. How many people in here over the age of 65 have received anything different than Express Scripts? Maybe one person. So, a couple folks. All right. So, here's where it gets really fun. My cell phone number is 512-626-3268. 512-626-3268. Yes, the video is rolling. 512-626-3268. That's my cell phone number. So if you have questions about what is happening, I am happy to take your phone call. Here's my phone. I'll just tell you this right now. I have a full mailbox right now. I have 26,106 emails. See? 26,000, So I have I only have 225 text messages. So I hate to sound like a millennial, which I'm not one, but if you text me and just say, I need some help, you give me a short, little thing on that, I will immediately respond by getting your information to a TRS person so that they can take care without you having to phone call. Now, look, your trust fund, your money is paying for TRS employees to do a job. And they do a great job. I think you've got the best TRS in the United States. So if you think that you can call over there and talk to them, you should give them a chance. You're paying them to fix your problem. If for some reason you still have a problem with this issue with your prescriptions especially, text me your name, your phone number. Never text anybody anything like a social security number, including me. So no, just your name, a phone number, email address, and where you live, and then text that to me, and I will get it to TRS, and we'll see if we can get you some help if you need it. All right? So the prescription thing is kind of a big deal, and it's going to be different for the over age 65 crowd than the under age 65 crowd. But you should be getting a new CVS Caremark card sometime in November. If you're over the age of 65, you should be getting a new card sometime in November. Okay, yes.
Just real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
Are we going to have to transfer all our scripts?
Okay, great question. So I get this question a lot. Will I have to transfer all of my scripts? You should be prepared to have to do that. You shouldn't have to, but you should be prepared to have to. So know the scripts you're taking. Kind of get ready for that whole process. If something bad were to happen, you kind of need to, deal with that. But TRS will transfer all of those records. Listen, this is not CVS Caremark's first rodeo. Just a few years ago, they were the PBM, right? So, and before that it was somebody else, and then it was Express Scripts, and now it's going back. So Caremark knows the business. They will have different formularies. And there's nothing in the TRS Care benefit structure that we can do legislatively that controls formularies. Formularies change all the time, and sometimes they change in the same plan year. So, and I will go ahead and mention this for the under age 65 crowd, because now I'm mixing everything up. If you're under the age of 65, your prescriptions do not fall under any sort of copay structure. You all probably know this now. But everything that you do in your health care now falls under your deductible. So whatever script you have filled as an under age 65 retiree, it's going to cost you the full amount until you hit your $3,000 deductible. There is some question about the full amount. What is the full amount of a prescription? Is it the amount of the prescription for street market value, or is it the amount that has actually been negotiated by the PBM? This is where I get back into the budesonide slurry thing. So it is not the street value. It is whatever the price that has been negotiated for that script by the PBM. So whatever CVS Caremark is paying for Lipitor is what you will pay until you hit your deductible. So you get the benefit, I'll come right back to you. You get the benefit of having a reduced negotiated price. But some of you are very savvy shoppers. And because I saw them both here yesterday, there is both a Costco in this town and a Sam's in this town. And sometimes, and Walmart and other places. So sometimes you say, look, I know I can get, X drug for $5 at one of these places. And if I use my benefit, it's going to cost me $110. If you go and get that, and I highly recommend that you go and get that at the cheaper place, but if you do, it is very unlikely that that will get applied to your deductible. So everything that you need to want to have coordinated with your deductible has to run through the TRS Care program. And I saw a hand back there, and I promised I was going to go back. Yes, go ahead.
TRS the other day said our deductible was $1,500.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Thank you for correcting me. I am highly medicated today. It's the only excuse that I have. I was there during the legislative session. Yes, you are so right. We won the $212 million. It is $1,500. What's your name? Yeah. Because I want to try to send you something for correcting me. You deserve a gold star for the day. The deductible is $1,500. All right, can we just back that up? I know the guy who's going to edit the video, so I'm going to go back and fix that. Your deductible, everything is going to get applied to your deductible, which is $1,500. So yes, that's the case. I'm sorry about that. So that's the new deductible. That's the prescription stuff. Anybody have any other questions about the script stuff before we move on? Yes.
Are generics no copay? No.
Oh, okay. So there were several questions about the list that came out. If you all had a chance to look at the list that was provided by TRS that talked about during the special, it was either the special or the regular, I get it mixed up. They added another $20 million so that certain drugs, certain scripts would be at no cost to the pre-65 population. And they were said to be regulatory or maintenance drugs. And the list was not available during session. So now the list has come out, and some people have some very snarky things to say about the list. Why aren't my diabetic medications included on this list as part of regulatory medication, maintenance medication? Some of it is generic, and kind of getting back to the whole issue. So that list is not created by the teacher retirement system. Does anybody want to know who creates that list? Insurance. Okay, insurance is a worthy guess, but it is not insurance. Pharmacies do not create the list. One more chance. The state? Okay, I'll pick that because that's the one I heard. It's the IRS. Yeah, shocker of the day. So a lot of it has to do with income levels. It has a lot to do with other programs that the federal government runs. And they sort of create this list. And that's why you've got things on there like, I don't know, some crazy stuff's on there. And you think, why is TRS given this list when we want to have these kinds of prescriptions included, and not something else that we wouldn't necessarily be using? And that's because it's created by some entity that is not connected to TRS at all. So some of those scripts that you may look on there and say, I don't have anything on here. My diabetic medication is on here. And I doubt it will be, because that's a very frequently used medicine that a lot of people need, and it's part of maintenance, but it is not something that anybody's going to give you for free because they want you to pay the cost. That's a money-driven decision. They want to make money on that sort of thing. They don't make a lot of money on, birth control pills. And so, there may not be a lot of people in TRS care that want birth control pills, but I think it's on the list. So, this is a guy who's got 4 kids. Finally figured it out. So on the idea about copays and all sorts of other things, again, you have to understand there is a separation between our underage 65 crowd and our overage 65 crowd, and there are copays that still exist with the overage 65 crowd, but there are no copays that exist with the underage 65 crowd until it becomes part of the deductible. Yes, ma'am?
Why wasn't a copay put in for us under 65?
It's a great question. The question is, why did they not actually include the copay structure like TRS Care 2 and 3 have right now? And it's because the legislature didn't appropriate the funds to pay for it. I can answer just about all of these questions by saying we can have whatever we want so long as we have the money to pay for it. And I will tell you, there were a lot of people in the legislature that didn't necessarily like me when session ended, because I was a real jerk. Depends on how you want to look at it. If y'all saw how I was working, you'd probably think, he's cool. He's fighting and he's mean. Because we fought very hard for some sort of copay structure that would have fit the plan. But as I said, when 51% of your total cost out of this program are prescriptions, the state legislature knows that if they only want to put X amount in for this health care, they are not going to be able to have a copay structure. So if we are going to be able to restore some benefits come next legislative session, we've got to get the money into TRS Care to be able to pay for it. Again, we can have whatever we want so long as we have the money to pay for it. when we started this, and kind of going back to why I probably screwed up on that number, when we started this, no new money, the premium for the under age 65 crowd, just for the retiree, was $400 a month, and it was a $4,000 deductible. So that's where we started, and so now we're at $200 a month for the retiree premium and a $1,500 deductible, which is better, but there is no copay for the prescription drugs in there. And so this idea of kind of getting back to generics and this other sort of thing, that also comes down to how active is the PBM into managing the actual fill for the prescriptions. I'm working with a retiree in Waco. I met her 2 days ago, and she is turning 65 in October, and I know somebody else in this room fits the same scenario because I have an email and Terry's talking about this. She turns 65 in October. She's trying to get her medicine. She cannot get it because there's a conflict. She's 64 and 360 days or something. And so Caremark won't approve it, but we think Express Scripts will, but she's without her medicine because the coordination of the benefit is not working out. And so I'll come right over to you. So there's lots of issues that happen with the prescriptions, and one of them is that the PBM is aggressively trying to manage your scripts. So if your doctor and you agree that you have to take a certain script because it works better for you, you may not be able to pass that through the PBM. So you may have to get aggressive with your provider to really fight for the prescription that you need. So again, I can inhale Floticanese for the same throat problem. But if anybody has ever tried to take one of those little Flonase shooters and shoot it down your throat in just a certain way so that you get it down your throat, it's tough. So I want to take the compounded formula that I just swallow. And this gets into the whole situation. My doctor actually had to fight for me to get the compound medication instead of the inhalant medication that I have to swallow. Many of you fall into the same category of, I have to fight for my script. And that's just something that you're probably going to have to do. So I said yes to this one, and then I'm going to come back over here and then back up here. Go ahead.
When we got that letter around the 1st of September, it said that you would have a card and stuff like that, but I hadn't got my card, so I contacted them, but they didn't have my correct information, so I have a sneaking suspicion there's a conspiracy.
We will kill all conspiracies.
All conspiracies,
Yeah.
But the thing is, most of my prescriptions are on Express Script right now. And so when my medication starts to have to roll over to get new medication when I am under 65, do we have to have that card? Because when I gave him my correct information, the young man said that he would make it out that day, but I've not seen hide nor hair of it.
Okay, so the answer to that is you should have a card. If you do not have a card, you need a card. Not just because you probably can get these things done without it, but it makes life so much easier if you have it, and you should have it. So all you need to do is just text me, and I will get your information to TRS and say, this is a person who does not have their card. Can you contact them and get them their card? So again, if you fall into that category and you do not, under age 65 population, if you do not have your new card yet, then you can try to call TRS or you can just text me and I will send the information. All right, go in the back and then we'll come up here. Go. Yep.
I know that our deductible is $1,500, so when we reach that $1,500, will they start paying 80%?
That is correct. So that's when it kicks in at the 80% level. So you'll pay the other 20%, but you do have something else in this plan called the maximum out-of-pocket number. And I probably should refer to the cheat sheet, but I'll just say, that number was, several $1,000s. It's either $6,150 or it's $7,150. I can't remember after the special session. Is it still 7? So you've got to pay the other 20% until you hit your maximum out-of-pocket of over $7,000. So, yes?
Does our Express Script plan have a donut hole?
Ah, Great question. Does our Express Scripts or does our over age 65 Medicare coordinated prescription drug plan have a donut hole? No. So, and kind of getting back to what I was trying to do, one of the questions that I have from this group is, my spouse is over age 65, I'm over age 65, I'm going to pay $146 for this Medicare Advantage thing, and I get the TRS Care Plan, but it seems to me like $395 or whatever it is that TRS is going to charge the spouse is a lot of money. And it is a lot of money. And that's why you've got a lot of different folks out there who are saying, I can sell you a Medicare Supplement Plan F for a lot less money and tie that into a Medicare D plan that is going to be less than what TRS is going to charge your spouse for their benefit. Should I do that? And so I get back to my first qualifier. Do you think that your scripts are going to hit the donut hole? And if so, you may end up saving money, even if you're paying more a month for the TRS Care Plan as a dependent than you would if you were to go out and buy something in the private sector, the individual market, which then does have the donut hole that you have to potentially contend with. So it gets tricky. And this is where I'm going to start saying something that I really have to qualify. I am the person who will try and talk you out of leaving TRS Care. Why have I said that 4 times already? Because if you are over the age of 65 and you leave TRS Care, what are your chances of getting back in? None. What are the chances of your spouse getting back in? Less than none. So you must be really sure that if your spouse is thinking about leaving, or if you're thinking about leaving, that you talk to a TRS counselor and get the kind of benefit figured out before you potentially walk away. The other thing I would say is this. There are plenty of groups out there that are very reputable that will try and sell a plan, a Medicare plan. The Medicare marketplace is extensively regulated. And it's relatively mature, meaning that it's been around for a while. And so because it's heavily regulated and because it's been around for a while, you don't get a lot of surprises. And most everything is kind of the same. So whether you buy a plan from AARP or buy a plan from USAA or whomever else, if you're buying a Plan F in the supplement market is the same as anywhere you buy it. It's the same. The difference may be what you pay for it. What you may not know is that every year, United Healthcare, I'm pretty sure it's United, reimburses a royalty back to AARP for endorsing their plan. Okay? That amount, again, we're playing fun games today, so how much is that money? What do you think that's worth? $1 billion is exactly right. AARP gets an annual amount of $1 billion a year to them as a royalty, and I found that as, if you want to do the math or just look it up, you can go to one of those sites that follows IRS regulations, forms that have to be filled out by not-for-profit organizations. It's in their 990. So it's a publicly available figure. It's like $987 million. In my book, that's $1 billion annually to endorse that plan. So it's worth something, right? It's worth something to get the AARP endorsed and sell those plans. For 15 years now, I have fought the idea of ever introducing something else other than TRS Care into this whole idea. Because I never want a legislator to look at us offering something else that potentially weakens the argument for keeping TRS Care alive. Okay? So this is really difficult for us. But I believe that you all have spent your life earning something better than just street-level pricing. And if you are going to consider going into the marketplace, especially for your spouse, and buying something in the individual market, I believe that TRTA has a responsibility to find you the best deal possible. So we are negotiating with a group, and because we've not signed any contracts, I probably shouldn't tell you exactly what that group is. I'll just tell you the name starts with an A, ends with an A. There's a E and an N and some other letters in the middle. So I feel very confident that ultimately we will be able to offer something, especially for dependents that just cannot afford $395 or $400 a month, whatever it is, a month for that benefit. But I caution everyone that you have to consider the donut hole, you have to consider your scripts, the plan offerings that TRTA will bring. It'll be the best, and yeah, you may be able to go out and find something a little less costly, but you'll be working with a group that, you understand, I hate commissions. I hate insurance commissions, and I know I got somebody from AMA back there, but I love to negotiate low commissions. I can't negotiate commissions out of the entire thing because people have to, they have to get paid. And so, but if you are thinking about this, the thing I will stress is you have lots of time. And I know you kind of want to make a decision right now, but you still have time. If you're thinking about leaving, you need to get the maximum value. I'll come right to you. You need to get the maximum value out of your TRS benefit and know that your benefit goes as it is until 12/31 of this year. And somebody, whoever sent the email to Terry, said, I'm going to go from being Medicare underage eligible to Medicare age eligible in October. What will I go to? Will I go to the TRS Medicare Advantage plan and not a 2 or 3? Yes and no. 1, 2, and 3 still exist. So if you're in TRS Care 3 right now and you're under the age of 65, but you turn 65 sometime before the end of the year, you'll be transferred automatically into TRS Care Medicare Advantage associated with whatever number you're in right now. So you will still be in that plan as 2 or 3. All right, so I know that question is out there. Maybe I just answered it. But as of 1/1, everybody goes into Medicare Advantage, TRS Care, no numbers anymore. So I promised I'd come right to you.
Okay, if you have a spouse and I'm saying, no, I can't afford what they're saying my spouse will, when will I know if there is a better deal for him that's being negotiated?
So the question is, when will I know about whatever these other plans are going to be? I had phone calls on it yesterday. I've got phone calls on it today. I fully expect to be able to make that announcement before the end of next week. Okay? So I'll come right back there for a question. So there are certain provisions that we have to be able to meet in order to get information out. You can't even be sold certain policies until October 15th, right? So, but as of October 15th, everybody's going to try to sell somebody something. I believe that y'all are going to be targeted by insurance companies that have never really believed that there was a market here to now market you to try to talk you out of TRS Care. I believe that messaging is going to occur. The only thing I can say is, whether you like me or not, whether you believe anything that I'm saying or not, whether I screw up the deductible amount and fix it because of my friend, believe this, TRTA is the largest retired teacher organization in the country. We will not agree on street rate prices for a high-level provider that knows this population. So if you are at least interested in this at all, I urge you to wait until we've put that out there. And I will tell you, I'm the guy who will try to talk you out of leaving. But if you really believe that that is the right solution, then we will offer, in my opinion, what is going to be the best. TRTA is not going to get $1 billion check for endorsing some group. We only care about the lowest price, the highest level of benefit, and the fact that somebody's not going to sell you something. They're going to only offer to you if you want it. So, yes, ma'am.
I just had a question. I have not been able to find the list of premiums that might have been changed since they were originally published. But when the original one came out, the cost of a couple was more than 2 times the cost of an individual.
Mm-hmm.
Explain that.
Yeah. So it's a great question, and everybody heard, I hope. It was originally, again, pre-special session, but after regular session, over age 65 population is $590 a month. So the retiree was 146, and the dependent was, whatever the difference between 146 and 590. It was at 440? Yeah, $444. So that is the difference. And the difference is the legislature is appropriating money to subsidize the cost of health care for the TRS retiree, but not for the spouse. I understand, but the political money philosophy is that we, the legislature, appropriate money to TRS care to subsidize the cost of insurance for the retiree. As a matter of fact, the law that was passed, House Bill 3976, actually says in the law, it's now a statute, that if TRS cannot provide a dependent plan, they can cancel coverage altogether. So there is nothing that keeps dependent coverage as part of TRS care other than TRS care saying, we think we can offer it at this rate. And again, I know somebody at TRS may watch this, and this is probably where, even though we're good friends, we may have a difference of agreement. I personally believe that they are charging more than the plan costs for the dependent. And I have nothing to prove that other than to say I can't understand why the price is so much higher for the dependent. It's a fully insured plan. There's a lot of reasons. So I think that they're charging a little bit more than they could, but they're also charging what they think they need to charge to keep the plan alive. Yep. So we'll come back here, and we'll go this way. Now listen, y'all, it's already 11:20. If you have to go, I understand. I do. Nobody's giving you points for staying for the entire thing if you have to leave. So, yes, ma'am.
I have two quick questions. The first one is, just out of curiosity, what kind of insurance do you operate under?
I have a high deductible plan.
But you're not under.
I'm not under. No. TRTA goes out and buys a policy,
okay.
And I've lived under a high deductible plan with where I have our employees have a high deductible, so we live under $4,000 or $5,000 deductibles.
Okay.
Yep.
The other thing is, I've asked, and just for information, I think, even though the new formulary, the new prescription group has CVS in there, it's going to be widely accepted a lot of other places, not just CVS.
That's a great comment. Know that TRS provides for, I go to Walgreens. So TRS provides for a possible surcharge on your prescription. I think it's $10 or $15. So that if you decide to go to another brick and mortar place and have your script filled someplace, you could have an additional surcharge of $10 or $15 added to your prescription. TRS is going to make it more painful for you to operate outside of their PBM. They want to use mail order, they want to use 3-month script, they want to force you to use what they have because they've essentially guaranteed CVS Caremark so much business. And if they have enough business, they say they can buy more drugs at a lower cost. So they're going to try to force you to use it. That's all right, go ahead. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And again, you don't have to. If you're willing to pay a little bit more to use whatever you want. Yeah. So they do want to incentivize you through price pain to use a place that they want you to use. Sir, go ahead.
I'm presently covered with a TRS Advantage plan.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife is over 65, but she's still employed with LISD.
Okay.
So when she turned 65, it was much more economical to get under Medicare and buy a supplement. That's what she's done.
Yeah.
She's going to retire without a year or a half. She won't have any problem getting under TRS care if she wants to transfer.
That's correct.
Time.
That is correct. So the question is about spousal coverage coming in for a spouse who's already 65, still working, may want to come into TRS. My understanding is that if she's never been a part of a TRS care benefit before, she'll be able to come into it. If you have questions about anything that deal with qualification of getting in the plan, especially since you have some time before it occurs, I strongly advise you to begin that discussion with a TRS counselor today. And just say, hey, look, I want to make sure everything is good to go. And I would get those things, I would start that conversation and get it in writing. and just that's a good way to start any of that process. So I'm going to come here and then go over here and back there. I'm breaking down, okay? So we're going to, and that's fine. If you're under the age of 65 and I did not answer something about the premium or something about dependent costs or family costs, I'm happy to answer those in this kind of question and answer discussion, but we're just going to kind of flow into this Q&A style. Go ahead.
Would you please address those of us who are over 65 and a widow or a widower?
Sure.
About the plan?
Yeah. Are you qualified as a widow or widower under your own work history or your spouse's work history? Okay. So the question is about TRS care benefits. You are the TRS retiree. You're going to pay that $146 a month as of, well, they changed that a little bit too, right? It's $135. It's like $11. So it's $135 a month, and you're going to have the Medicare Advantage plan, which again qualifies for all of those. So they're going to transfer you into the Medicare Advantage plan automatically. They're going to up your premium, and hopefully all of the docs and everything else will still take the plan. But you may need to talk to your docs and just say, you know, what are you going to take this plan or not? And if not, then you might have to, you know, consider some other options. So, and those other options, just so I don't leave that nebulous, the other options are, do you want to change your docs to people who will take the plan, or do you want to try to go out and look at the, you know, the private market and buy a supplement plan? So that's about it. So just by kind of what you're showing me, and I think you should stay, you know, probably be comfortable where you are. If the premium's something you can afford, you're probably going to be in relatively good shape.
But stay where I am now, just leave, don't change anything.
I think you're going to be all right. If that's working for you right now, I think it's going to continue to work for you. It's just going to be a little bit more money to pay for it. Yes, ma'am.
I'm in TRS 2 right now.
Mm-hmm.
In October of 65,
Mhm.
I got a letter that said you can move up to TRS 3.
Mhm.
Should I go ahead and do that?
The question is, I'm in 2, I'm going to turn 65, have a chance to change my benefit. It's up to you. I mean, it's you may get a little bit better coverage for a relatively short period of time, but the new plan, the way I understand the new plan in January 1st, it's a little bit better than 2, but a little bit worse than 3. It's sort of right in the middle. And so it's probably not going to change a whole lot. Your deductibles, some of your out-of-pocket costs may be a little different. You'll pay a little bit more for it. It's just, I mean, if you expect to use the benefit and you think you're going to get the money out of it in 3 months, maybe it's worth it. But if not, maybe you just want to stay where you are and kind of move into the new plan. Yeah. I promise to go back to you. Go ahead.
Say you live in a small town in West Texas, pick one, Last Buddy, Smire, wherever, and you go to the doctor with a kidney infection or ear infection, and he prescribes 10 days worth of an antibiotic. By the time you send it off to CVS Caremark and get it back in the mail, you're dead. Yeah. I love levity. I think I could hang out with you for a while. Because I would probably, if I were TRS, I'd probably say, hallelujah, it worked. I'm just kidding. So that's a great question. Why don't I ask TRS that specifically today and just say, look, I think they've built in some qualifiers in there so that you can get access to different things. It is clear that most of this doctor network population exists in just a few counties. And so if you look at a map of where all the doctor providers are, I saw June over there just now. She's like, shut up. You'll see that there are just a big part of Texas where you don't have a lot of doctor providers. And I do think that TRS is extremely well versed in knowing how to deal with places that are underserved with medical access, whether that's pharmacies or docs. May not always seem that way sometimes, but I do think they get it. So I'll find out what that answer is. I'll send it to June or Terry or somebody, and then we can send it out to everybody else. But if you live in small town West Texas and you got to get a script and you don't want to deal with the mail order process and there's no CVS to be found, what's the answer? So let me get that answer for you. All right, I'll do one more, June. One more. Because she's ready to take it. And then we're done. You all have my cell phone number, and you can call and ask me whatever you want, or text me. That's probably the easier way to do it. So I promise this back here, and then I'll just come and talk to you as soon as I'm done. Yes, ma'am.
I just turned 65, or I'm going to Sunday, but I've gotten accepted into Medicare. I know the premium's gonna be $135 a month. Right, I'm TRS Care 3 up until now. My premium was $280 a month coming out of my annuity. How much are they gonna continue to take out of my annuity? Plus, I know I'll pay the $135 to the CMS for the monthly Medicare. Anyway, so is my $280 a month coming out of the annuity gonna go down some, I hope?
Okay, so couple questions in that. Number one, are you eligible for Medicare A and B, or just? Okay. So you've got your 40 quarters. You're eligible. So and that 280, is it? Do you have dependent coverage on there as well? Okay. Then there's a couple things I don't know. One of which would be, I'm sorry, I need to ask this again because maybe I missed it. Are you currently Medicare age eligible? Okay. Got it. So up until now, you've been under the pre-65 plan, and so that's a higher cost plan per month. So now when you transfer into the new plan, it's still probably going to be less than what you're paying. So yes, you'll get a little bit less taken out, so a little more take-home pay in your annuity. But when the new plan kicks in, the premium will go to $135 a month. And so wherever you end up with whatever plan you're going to be on now at Medicare age eligible, those numbers could fluctuate some. And again, if you have some other any other deductions that may be taken out of your annuity or something, then I don't know all of that. Some people pay their TRTA dues for the annuity, so it's like $2 or $3 a month. So just some other things in there that I don't know, but I think it'll probably come down some. May fluctuate a little in January, and it'll be kind of solid for another year. All right, so this is probably important for everybody, and certainly for the video. Everything that I have said here today is based on information that I have as of today, whatever today is, September 7, 2017. And so I am not a TRS counselor. I am employed by the Texas Retired Teachers Association. I have my information based on items that I heard during the legislative session and documentation that's come out from the teacher retirement system as of today and as of a board meeting as of last Friday. So, if there are still changes that are going to occur, which I don't think there are going to be many, but there could be some, they may come out through other publications official from the teacher retirement system. It is important for everybody in this room to know that you should not make a decision on anything related to your teacher retirement system unless you have spoken specifically with a TRS counselor. So some of these things happen automatically, and that's fine, but if you have specific questions, or you're thinking about leaving, or you're thinking about doing anything that changes your benefit in any way, I strongly advise you to talk to a TRS counselor first. Your friends are no smarter on these things than I am or you are. And I have had way too many people say, I made a decision on something with my retirement benefit based on what happened to my brother. And these are irrevocable decisions. And you should always at least run it by TRS before any decision gets made. And with that being said, I do appreciate the time and y'all's willingness to listen to me. Thank you so much.